Seeing the beginning of the Bitcoin Treasury bubble collapse. Everyone's focusing on Michael Saylor's 100th Bitcoin buy, but they're ignoring the Bitcoin Treasury company that just liquidated 100% of their Bitcoin holdings. Now, we know that MicroStrategy is safe, or at least most likely safe, but what would happen to the price of Bitcoin if we continue to see more companies dumping their entire Bitcoin treasury? Now, I know you guys are probably in the chat saying we're fudding, but hey, we've been talking about this for a minute. And if you're looking at the Bitcoin treasury stock prices, a lot of them are not doing very well. Now, Nico and I have been saying on the show, most likely MicroStrategy and maybe one or two other ones are going to be flying high. They're going to be good to go, but a lot of the smaller ones, I don't know if they're in trouble yet, but we are starting to see some worrying signs. So I will start with, of course, Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor did do his 100th buy for MicroStrategy. They acquired 592 Bitcoin for roughly $39.8 million at 67,286 per Bitcoin. And now they have about 717,722 Bitcoin. So they are lowering their, cost per Bitcoin. Obviously, they're buying the dip. They're essentially doing a DCA strategy here every week. We know Saylor said, hey, we're going to be buying Bitcoin every week, most likely every quarter forever. So Saylor, and of course, we did play the clips last week where Saylor is saying, look, we're pretty much good to go. We're going to be able to, survive for an extended period of time, even if Bitcoin got to a ridiculous 8K price. So Saylor is good to go. We're not here to FUD MicroStrategy or Michael Saylor. It's really about talking about everyone outside of the, Saylor camp here. There is a lot of Bitcoin treasury companies now. Of course, we covered this last year that it seemed like the Bitcoin hype was shifted into the Bitcoin treasury hype. And now we're starting to see that it is, the Bitcoin treasury bubble probably popped a while ago, but now we're starting to see that a lot of them are getting in trouble. Now, what am I talking about here? So it's not the big Bitcoin treasury companies, the pure Bitcoin treasury company plays, but we did see BitDeer liquidate its entire Bitcoin treasury. Now, you're probably like, okay, they're a Bitcoin mining company. But again, all the rage was Bitcoin treasury companies, people adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And they just liquidated in the last month or so about 1,500 coins, and they finally dumped about 1,000 coins over the weekend. So here we go. BitDeer liquidates entire Bitcoin treasury. The miner has sold 100% of its corporate Bitcoin holdings, 943.1 Bitcoin from reserves sold. This was the final batch. And they even sold the 189.8 Bitcoin that was newly mined. They're officially at 0 Bitcoin holdings. Now, they are saying that the proceeds are being redirected and that they're trying to just, beef up their liquidity here. So you can see the chart. They've been selling a lot of Bitcoin. They had a high of Bitcoin, and in the last couple of months, they have completely sold out of all of their Bitcoin, just completely to 0. Now, their official response here is, or actually, let's go to this headline. This one's a little more interesting. I think it says a little more. This from Coinbase, and it goes, BitDeer sold all its Bitcoin to fund its move into AI data centers. So we've been seeing this. A lot of Bitcoin miners have been pivoting into the AI space. And you're starting to ask yourself why, obviously. As we've been seeing, the hash rate has been down. The hash price has been going up. It was tough for Bitcoin miners for the last couple of months, but now it seemed to have cooled down a little bit. And here they are. They're liquidating their entire holdings so that they have liquidity to acquire some land. Now, here is the official response from BitDeer. And they're spinning this a little more positively. And they go, our decision to sell Bitcoin should not be concern for the broader market. We are currently evaluating multiple non-binding powered land acquisition opportunities, as the CoinDesk article said, for AI basically. And we believe it is prudent to prepare liquidity now. Our hash rate will continue to grow, and we will continue to mine more Bitcoin for the interest of our shareholders. Now, if you're looking at what happened over the weekend, you might want to attribute the Bitcoin dump we saw to 64K because of BitDeer dumping their Bitcoin. Now, I don't think that that was the case. I think it's probably more to do with the whole tariff stuff going on right now. Of course, on Friday, we covered the news, or I slightly covered the news in the culture that the Trump tariffs were knocked down from the Supreme Court. They basically said, hey, this is illegal. And then literally right when I got off the show, I saw Donald Trump basically say, like, it doesn't matter what the Supreme Court said. We're doing tariffs anyways. And then over the weekend, we saw that now there's a across the board 10 and potentially 15% tariffs on every country right now. So Trump is using other means for the tariffs. And I think that's probably what caused this Bitcoin price to dump, though it literally happened at like 10 o'clock last night on Sunday. I had a friend text me. He's like, yo, the Bitcoin price dump. I just respond with lol, because, you know, at this point, it's either you laugh or you cry. Now, to add, you know, a little more wrinkles to this and to prove that this isn't just an isolated event from BitDeer, I have this tweet right here, rather this chart right here, by Charles Edwards, who has been very big on the idea that the reason Bitcoin price is down is because of quantum computing concerns. But he did drop this chart and he goes, a new first, consecutive weeks of first time digital asset treasury sells. Is the Bitcoin treasury model unwinding? And you can see here, is this weekly? Yeah, weekly. So 3 weeks in a row that we've seen Bitcoin treasury companies selling Bitcoin. It's the first time we've seen that. So with the price going down, with the current, you know, price action, with a lot of uncertainty in the markets and the broader markets, geopolitical markets at large, you are starting to see a lot of pressure on these Bitcoin treasury companies, these companies that maybe took a lot of debt to get Bitcoin. Now we might be seeing more of a trend. We might see this trend continue. Now, to really, you know, put this in context here, I am on Bitcoin treasuries. And of course, we've been talking about this for a while. The Bitcoin treasuries, or rather the public companies' Bitcoin treasuries, they hold over 1 million Bitcoin. Now, there is the public companies which hold about 300,000 Bitcoin. So that's a total of about, you know, almost 1.5 million Bitcoin that are sitting in Bitcoin treasury companies. That's where this is starting to get really big and concerning, guys. And obviously, that total 1.5 million Bitcoin isn't going to get liquidated tomorrow. But if we do start to see the price action get lower, continue to go sideways for who knows how long, a lot of the companies that probably aren't managed the best, they don't have a, you know, rocket scientist behind them manufacturing some financial engineering here, there could potentially be more Bitcoin selling on the horizon. And as we've been covering for the last couple of months, you know, we can attribute the Bitcoin drops to a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of speculations about it's Binance selling 1 billion coins instead of buying 1 billion coins. There's a lot of OGs selling Bitcoin for the last year and a half. If we get in more hot water here, and now a lot of these Bitcoin treasuries are going to have to dump, you know, potentially their entire holdings here, like BitDeer did, that's 1.5 million Bitcoin that's going to hit the exchanges, hit the market. On the one hand, hey, cheap sats for us. Distribution of coins again. This is healthy for Bitcoin's distribution of people holding Bitcoin. But what is that going to do to the price? If we have to deal with another 1.5, or rather just flat 1 million coins being sold, being dumped on our heads again, guys, we might be in for, as Nico was saying, you know, 40K Bitcoin price if this actually happens. Now, I'm not spreading FUD and saying, oh, it's going to happen. All I'm saying is we are seeing a trend of Bitcoin treasury companies needing to sell their coins. And if this BitDeer scenario, this isolated scenario of BitDeer, is a broader trend of what other Bitcoin treasury companies are feeling like, hey, I might need to get into cash. I might need to liquidate my holdings. I might not be able to continue this strategy, especially when a lot of the Bitcoin treasury companies are like 90% down. It's starting to get bloody out there, guys. Now, Is this the, the final sacrifice we need for the bear or the bull market to continue? Is this, even Nico said this morning, we might be seeing some bottom signals now with these Bitcoin treasuries coming. I think we do potentially, or rather, we will potentially see more capitulation here. I know the BitDeer official Twitter account, they kind of spun this a little more positively, like, hey, we're not in trouble. But it is something that is on my radar right now. If we see more Bitcoin treasury companies sell, then hopefully it happens quickly so we can find a bottom quickly and not go sideways with all this uncertainty. But it does look, or rather, maybe Nico, maybe this does confirm the idea that we've been talking about for a while, that the Bitcoin price was, for lack of better term, suppressed because all of the capital, all the hype was going into the Bitcoin treasury companies. And like we saw in 2017 with the ICO booms, they're finally, they're finally interacting with gravity. It's finally coming down, and we are getting back to reality here. Hopefully, this happens a lot quicker, because then finally we bottom and we can continue the game. We can continue rising up. We can finally get our as all of us Bitcoiners always talk about, the final sacrifice before we can start to run up again. But what do you take? What's your read on this BitDeer announcement? Do you think this is PR spin, or or are we seeing a greater trend for the Bitcoin treasury bubble collapsing?
I mean, dude, look, I called this. I called this in October, right? I told you that as this bear market progresses, while you and Walker were like literally beating me up, I said
Guilty.
that we are going to see a bunch of different treasury companies collapse. And that's exactly what we've seen playing out. Like, not only has it been BitDeer is the biggest one. They're a huge public miner, but also we saw Sequans. We also saw Nakamoto, I believe, sold some Bitcoin as well. So there was a recent interview with Michael Saylor, and for the first time ever, he goes out and he tells his investors that, hey, look, if Bitcoin is below, our MNAV is below a certain price, we might be put in a position where we have to sell Bitcoin, right? So paper Bitcoin summer is officially over.
Thank God, honestly.
Paper Bitcoin summer is officially over. The market is basically checking out these treasury companies, and they're coming to a realization that, hey, we actually have to become a company. We actually have to have cash flow. I was actually having a very enlightening conversation with Jack Mallers, or Jack Ballers, however you want to call him. Big fan of just his media and the products that he's built. And he has even come to this realization. We were having a conversation at Plan B, which, by the way, we posted on our YouTube. You guys should go check it out. And he even said, like, look, like, we have 21 has to take a look at on how to build a profitable business. It's not just about holding Bitcoin on your balance sheet. It's about actually having the cash flow as a business, and then using Bitcoin as a treasury asset, not just the company being a treasury asset itself, because it actually doesn't make sense, right? Like, if you think about it, like, okay, let's say you're an institutional investor, or let's say you're someone who's older and you don't feel comfortable with just buying spot Bitcoin and putting it in self-custody. I understand that argument. But then why not just buy the ETF, right? Because if you're just buying the treasury company, you're taking additional risk. Like, you're not just buying exposure to Bitcoin, you're actually betting on the fact that management is not going to dilute your shares. You're actually betting that management is going to do a good job. It's a lot riskier. So what is the actual point of buying a treasury company? And one of the things that I've noticed on I think it was Bitcoin treasuries, like, look at the MNAVs, the craziest MNAVs that are like 50x, 40x are Tesla, Block, basically what that means is the companies that actually have cash flow are significantly higher in their MNAVs because their valuations are significantly higher than the Bitcoin that they hold in their treasuries, right? Because the company is being valued based on how profitable that company is. And, a Bitcoin treasury is a part of that equation. It's a part of that math, right? I think strategy in and of itself, I'm a fan of Saylor. I think that, buying strategy at $50 a share would be a steal. I think buying it under $100 would be a great purchase, in my opinion. Right now it's at what, 125 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So I have all the confidence in the world that strategy 21 and potentially Nakamoto are going to return in all their glory when we hit the next bull market. But what I've been saying for the last couple of months, and I've been right, and I'm sticking to it, is the fact that, hey, the smaller treasury companies that took on riskier debt or diluted their shareholders to buy additional Bitcoin, I was telling you that those companies were going to find themselves in trouble. And one of the largest Bitcoin miners in the world, BitDeer, capitulated, and they capitulated hard, like hard. And they had PR blowback, by the way. They had to go out on Twitter and basically say, hey, guys, we still believe in Bitcoin 100%. We're still mining it, but essentially we've sold all our Bitcoin. That's not a sign of confidence. And by the way, it's not just BitDeer doing this. We saw a post. It was actually by Predator that posted.
Oh yeah, I have it. Let me pull that up.
That basically, the Winklevi, which I'm also a fan of. I think Gemini is great in terms of the products that they offer. The Gemini credit card's pretty cool. And basically, he's like, I've never seen sentiment this bad. And then Predator found receipts of basically the fund that the Winklevi have. They've been selling Bitcoin for over a year now, right? So it's like you're basically saying, I've never seen the sentiment so bad, but simultaneously your fund has been selling Bitcoin this entire time. That's not a really good sign of confidence, but I'm going to weave it back in, and I'm going to bring all this back in and just tell you guys, because it has been negative Nancy for, the beginning part of this show. But what I will tell you is that I love this. I really love this, because for the first time in many, many years, we're seeing uncertainty in the markets. We're seeing doubt creep in. We're seeing
Here's a tweet, Nico. Here's a tweet.
Do you want to read it? Yeah, did you pull it up?
Yeah. So Tyler Winklevoss, 14 hours ago, goes basically saying exactly what Nico just said. The sentiment in crypto right now is so bad that I'm actually pretty optimistic. And then Predator goes, then why has the Arkham tag Winklevoss Capital Wallet been selling off Bitcoin nonstop for a year straight? And you can see here they had about 23 and some change thousand Bitcoin, and currently have under 12K, so around 11K Bitcoin. So they sold also 50% of their stack here. So it further proof that this is going around, and people are selling Bitcoin, even though a lot of the narrative is, hey, we're going to be holding this Bitcoin forever. So, all right. Anyways, continue, Nico.
So yeah, I mean, look, fundamentally at the end of the day, it's like, don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do. And the reality is that I think right now there's like this shaking of confidence. The shaking of confidence, I think, comes from the fact that Bitcoin didn't perform to the expectations of many this previous cycle. Like even Lynn Alden, I saw her, I think it was on the What Bitcoin Did podcast, where she was basically saying something along the lines of like, look, like I thought Bitcoin was going to hit at least $150,000 last cycle. And the cycle before that, I thought I was going to hit at least 100. And the previous cycle, 2021, it only hit 69K. And then this previous cycle, it only hit 126K. So it actually underperformed Lynn Alden's expectations, right? So there's this kind of loss of confidence in Bitcoin being this alternative to gold. Like that's really what's happening here. That's really the main story. So you have gold enter this historic parabolic year in 2025, goes up 60%. It's an asset that's $35 trillion for it to go up 60%. I mean, holy shit, the amount of money that needs to go into this asset. And it performs amazing. And then silver basically like acts like a shit coin essentially. It's like 2-3xing like over a short amount of time. Like it's crazy. So like I think like right now the digital gold narrative is being called into question like that, and that's a reality that a lot of people are not taking into account. But here's the thing, and perhaps you guys don't remember this from the early days of Bitcoin and how Bitcoin has functioned. Um, this is how Bitcoin normally has been, right? Like, this is what people have forgotten. Like, this is what people need to remember. Like, in 2017, the reason that you had such crazy potential in terms of gains was because there was so much uncertainty back then. Like, if you would have told me in the beginning of 2017, which the price of Bitcoin was $1,000 at that time, that, you know, in less than 10 years, it was going to essentially 100x. I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed you. I would have been like, that's crazy. But there was a lot of uncertainty back then. BlackRock was our enemy. Even Saylor didn't believe in Bitcoin in that era. There was no Bitcoin content, right? It was like very, very early days. It wasn't as early as 2013 or 2014, but it was still early and there's not that much confirmation. What I disliked about this epoch, and obviously hindsight's 2020, but what I disliked about this epoch is that there was so much certainty. There was so much certainty. Think about it on Twitter right now. There's entire accounts that their whole growing strategy, and maybe we're a little bit, we have to talk to the Twitter team about this, but maybe we're a little bit guilty of this themselves. But it's basically like, look, like Bitcoin's going to hit $1 million guaranteed. It's a sure bet, 100%, like whatever. And everyone just smash likes it. Like 2017, that didn't even exist. Like there was no Bitcoin standard. Like there was none of these like highly intellectual people that have the IQs of like 150 basically making these incredible pieces of literature of just like creating these incredible pieces of just books and writing and stuff like that to make the thesis for as to why Bitcoin's going to win. None of that existed back then. So because there was so much uncertainty, because it wasn't a sure thing, it created this asymmetric opportunity if you believed in Bitcoin very early on. For me, the factor that really changed my perspective and made me go all in was Andreas's lectures. When I heard Andreas's lecture, I was like, oh my God, like this isn't just about making money. This is like we're going to win basically. And it was a lot more revolutionary back then. It kind of transformed. Like now it's the financialization of Bitcoin. And you know, I kind of like what happened because these treasury companies are either going to be forced to pivot, except for strategy, because strategy has a different strategy, no pun intended.
Metaplanet might be good too.
And Metaplanet, but more so strategy.
Strategy is going to be okay.
But you know, the concept of just a company buying Bitcoin and being public, and then the market's assigning value to that, I think that concept is over. I think it's done. I think it had its moment over the summer. We had our blow off tops in Bitcoin in those companies. A lot of the capital that would have otherwise just bought spot Bitcoin went straight into these treasury companies. And that's what happened over the summer. And I think that's part of the reason we didn't have this crazy normal parabola. And now we have uncertainty back in the markets again. And now as we head into the new cycle, which we're beginning, congratulations, guys. This is like the new cycle. You've made it a cycle. We're in a new cycle without a doubt. Now the question is, how are we going to, where are we going to bottom out? That's the big question. Are we going to bottom out at, at 60K? Are we going to bottom out at 45? Are we going to bottom out at 31? Right. That's the big question. No one knows. But I am pretty confident to say that I think we're going to bottom out this year without a shadow of a doubt. And I think that, the cycle is going to repeat itself. Nature's going to heal. I think 2020 at the end of 2026 is going to be a great year. I think the 2027 is going to be a great year. I think 2028 is going to be a great year, and 2029 is going to be an incredible year as well. But basically, the cycle is just repeating itself. And let's see what let's see how Bitcoin does. My personal opinion is I feel incredibly bullish after we get through this kind of nature healing itself, because it really did need to heal itself. Like, a lot of these companies were trading at like 5x 5 mNAV, like 10 mNAV. I'm not going to name any names, but some of the Bitcoin Treasury companies. And the way that Mauricio, the co-founder of Ledin, described it to me, he was basically like, Nico, like, essentially, if you were buying one of these companies and they were trading at 5 times mNAV, you essentially could have put that same amount of capital into Bitcoin and you would have gotten 5 times as much Bitcoin than if you just bought these companies trading at 5 mNAV. Like, we did have a mania phase. It just didn't happen in spot Bitcoin. It happened in in the traditional financial markets, in these Bitcoin proxies, so to speak, in these paper Bitcoin vehicles, so to speak. I know that could be controversial to say that, but anyways,
wait, can we?
I also have a theory as well. I have a very interesting theory. And we're right. We're more right often than we are wrong. Okay. So no, that's not true.
I'm trolling, dude.
We're
trolling.
We're more right than we are wrong. But I'm gonna tell you guys this theory. I've been
I
thinking
rage
about it
bait a little.
I've been thinking about this over the weekend. I want to get your guys' thoughts. So in 2021, the bull market got cut short. We didn't go as high as we normally would. And the primary reason for that, and I know people disagree with this, but they could shut up because I know I'm right on this. The correlation is just too strong. But basically, the 2021 bull market, it was cut short because of the China mining ban. You literally saw Bitcoin had this double top, and in between the double top, you saw a direct correlation between the hash rate and the price of Bitcoin, right? This cycle, we didn't really have a top. We had this like this top on apathy, but it was strange because instead of Bitcoin going parabolic, you saw gold go parabolic in the meantime. And before that, gold went sideways for like, what was it? Like 10 years, 10, 15 years before that happened. So like, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, if you're a government and you don't want people to use a non-sovereign alternative to your local fiat currency, what would you need to do? The primary thing that you would need to do is for the Bitcoin price not to go up. Like, when we had these leaks coming out of these European politicians when they were talking about the MiCA laws and like whatever, like some of their communications, like what they would say is basically like, we have to do something about the price. We have to do something about the price. So think about this for a second. What is one of the best ways for people to lose confidence in Bitcoin? In 2021, it was basically the Chinese government canceling or basically banning all those Bitcoin miners. We didn't get a normal parabolic run. We got a blow off top. I would call it a muted top. And then in 2025, instead of Bitcoin having a parabolic year, it was gold. And you know who controls all the gold in the world? Banks and governments. So, like, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, But
no, it's actually I wanted to explore that idea in the culture. I have some good tweets on this, so we'll continue the combo. But yeah, keep going.
It's surely convenient, is what I'm trying to say, that in the 2 years that Bitcoin was meant to go parabolic, as in 2017, and the parabolas are really what drives the crazy adoption. You have the China mining ban in 2021, and in 2025, instead of Bitcoin going parabolic, you have gold going parabolic. And conveniently, you know who controls gold? Governments do, right? So it's like, and you know what one of the biggest narrative killers of Bitcoin succeeding would be? Because again, this is what Michael Saylor was saying for so many years. He's saying the US government should sell all that gold and buy Bitcoin, because gold is essentially this dead metal. And then the year that Bitcoin is supposed to go parabolic, gold goes up 60%. How convenient, right? So it could be, again, there's no confirmation of this, but I don't have any shame like I used to when I used to have, like, connect the dots the way that I have, because we've been right so much more than we've been wrong over the years, you know, bringing you tomorrow's Bitcoin news today here at Simply Bitcoin. Could this be a sabotage by central banks to basically psyop people into losing faith in Bitcoin, by essentially finally allowing the gold price to run? Because we all know that gold essentially has been suppressed by the paper gold mechanism for a very long time now. I've had Caitlin Long come on the show to talk about this. I've had Larry Lepard come on the show to talk about this. And it's like an open secret that, you know, paper gold should be a lot more expensive, but because of the paper gold in the market, it's not. Could it be that the year 2025 governments are like, listen, we can't stop this Bitcoin thing, so what we're going to do is we're going to let gold run. We control gold anyways. We have total control over the custody of gold. Most of the gold is in our vaults, right? Let's just let gold
Allegedly.
run. Let's just let gold run. We can't have this non-sovereign alternative, of which the majority is held by individuals, continue to go parabolic, because that's just going to lead to more adoption of this, and more adoption of Bitcoin means less control for governments. Again, I wouldn't. This is completely speculative. I have no evidence of that, but again, the incentives do line up. They do line up. You can't question that. And then you weave this in, the civil war that is happening between the Federal Reserve and Donald John Trump, right? President Trump. Like, where basically they're artificially keeping the interest rates high, basically making the argument, it's like, oh no, inflation is running too hot, while simultaneously, you know, they were very easy in terms of their monetary policy when the previous administration was in power, right? So again, I think that there could be something bigger at play here that is trying to stop the adoption of Bitcoin and the inclusion of Bitcoin in the traditional financial system. And one of the best ways to stop Bitcoin is for number not to go up. If number doesn't go up, I'm telling you guys, that is the most important feature of Bitcoin, is number going up. Like, yeah, the sovereignty is good.
Agreed.
The self-custody is good. All of that is good. Like, make no mistake. But like, the absolute scarcity narrative, no one gives a flying fuck about that narrative unless number goes up, right? Like, the success of Bitcoin is binary. Michael Saylor said it the other day. This thing either goes to 0 or it goes to 1 million. It doesn't just go sideways. Like, if Bitcoin can't even beat the S&P 500, if Bitcoin can't even beat the price appreciation of gold, then what the hell are we all doing here? Right? Like, that's the blunt, honest truth, right? So I think there could be some dark forces at play that are trying to basically stop the adoption of Bitcoin by suppressing the price of Bitcoin. What the hell do I know? That's just a theory I have.
Cue Alex Jones with the tinfoil hat on. No, I kind of agree. Look, I've said it before, and the chat never really likes this when I say it, but I completely agree with Nico on the fact that, look, you may like other reasons about Bitcoin, but the most important thing to get people to adopt Bitcoin is number go up. That's just how it is. Look, all the other features that we love about Bitcoin are all great, but without number going up, people don't find a reason to get into Bitcoin. And without number go up, this is why no one's here. Now, who'd you say? Did you say Saylor said that about gold? Because I'm being reminded that even Safety had said this a long time ago. He's like, the only thing that could really stop Bitcoin is if the world went back on a gold standard.
I mean,
he said that years ago.
But when I interviewed him in Lugano, he said that.
Yeah,
that was one of the things he said. He said the world going back on a gold standard, and how convenient. The year that Bitcoin was supposed to go parabolic, all of a sudden, like, gold wakes up from a slumber, and it has this amazing performance. Like, how convenient, bro. What a coincidence. Oh my God. Right. I think guys, like, I think people forget what's at stake here. And, like, we're really playing for all the marbles here, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is about control over the money. You control money, you control the world. Like, this rabbit hole is deep. Like, I mean, the world wars, the is it over, boys? No, I don't think so. And if it is, I'm gonna stick to,
if it is, at least we tried, right?
If it is, like,
it's not over. It's not over.
I'm gonna stick with it through the very end. Like, I'm going to stick with this thing. I truly believe in Bitcoin. I truly believe in the properties of Bitcoin. But, like, once we start getting to the final levels, and make no mistake, we are in the final levels. Like, we are very close to, winning this game. I think they're going to pull out all the stops, and this could totally be one of the things that they're doing to shake your confidence in this thing. Right? Because ultimately that's what it's about. Like, this is about shaking your confidence. And I think this bear market's going to be especially brutal, because even in the 2018 and 2019 bear markets, we still knew that Bitcoin was going to recover. Like, we knew that Bitcoin was going to rip eventually. This bear market, people are questioning. Like, we had, I don't want to mention who he is, but, like, we had someone that even works for us was basically like, man, there's things over the next 10 years that could potentially outperform Bitcoin. Right. Like, even like, kind of internally, like, we're starting to see that doubt and
bottom signals. Are we seeing bottom signals?
That doubt creep in. So, I would say, listen, guys, hold strong. Remember the conviction that you have. Remember why you are here. I think we're going to win. I think Bitcoin has the best characteristics. It's backed by, the largest decentralized node network in the world. It's backed by the largest decentralized computing network in the world that's actively mining it on a 24/7 basis. And again, nothing has absolute scarcity the way that Bitcoin has absolute scarcity. You can, store it on a 12-word, 24-word seed phrase. It's incredibly easy to store. All the arguments are there. So I think it's just a matter of the hodl, baby. Are you hodling? I'm hodling. Are you hodling? Let us know in the chat if you're hodling, or you got shaken out of your bags, like some of these companies are being shaken out of their bags, right? Anyway, it seems like the Rumble chat is popping off. Shout out to all of you guys on Rumble. Someone actually gave me a nice thing, Nico, right on the nailhead. Love it. Nico, the violin player on the Titanic. That's hilarious.
That's our cash maxi on Rumble.
You go, Nico. Nico, is Bitcoin being controlled? Potentially could be being controlled. I don't know. That's a good question, my friend. But anywho, guys, it's going to be a great show. Someone said I sold at 115. It's going to be a
smart move, bro.
Hindsight's 2020. Love you, Nico. Hang in there. It's going to be okay someday, maybe. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. Nico is a fan of Saylor since when I've always been a fan of Saylor. I just think that, he has, he's running a public company and he wants his stock to go up. But at the end of the day, I'm also a fan of Coinbase, because Coinbase has been one of the biggest they've sunk in a ton of money into lobbying pro Bitcoin policies in Washington, D.C. So you don't need to be completely aligned with a lot of these entities to be fans of them. There's things that I dislike that how traditional finance treats Bitcoin. There's things that I dislike about the altcoin casino industry. But there's things that I like about traditional finance, and there's things that I like about Coinbase. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. We have tons to cover today. I want to let you know, I want to hear your guys' thoughts about my theory. We're going to talk more about it during the culture segment with Opti. And it's going to be a great show. I got some videos lined up. Larry Lepard has got some bull juice for you guys. And then we got a critique of Bitcoin. And the critique of Bitcoin is coming from actually someone who's a famous movie star. And they come from a huge YouTube channel. And the reason I want to play you guys this critique is because the midterms are coming up. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten that, that we were in a hostile political environment almost 2 years ago with the previous administration. And I want to remind all of you guys that members of that political party have not changed their stance. In fact, the Clarity Act right now has a 43% chance of passing. I also called that. Got to take credit for that as well. So yeah, guys, it's going to be a great show. Also, we got Bram. We got Bram joining us on the show. We're going to let him up on the show. We're going to let him up in a little bit. So guys, it's going to be a great show. You guys want to, what's wrong with me?
Dude, just hit the ad.
You guys are going to want to stay tuned in, smash that like button, consider subscribing, and we're going to be right back in just a little bit. Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk. You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, we got Bram joining us in the house today. Guys, go to stampseed.com today. Use promo code SIMPLY. Again, promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. Bram, thank you so much for joining us. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $64,790. $64,970. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Sats per dollar, 1,539. Block height, 938,005. Realized monetary inflation, 0.84%. Market cap, 1.3 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 4.34%. Percentages. You remember when we celebrated, got to 10%? Gold just took us to school, bro. Percentage issued, 95.2%. Decline from all-time high. If you're buying Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at a 50% discount. 50% discount. That's a pretty good discount. Anyways, before I get Bram's thoughts, I have this clip of Larry Lepard. Larry Lepard had some thoughts regarding where Bitcoin could go on its next wave, what those price targets could be. Let's check out the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Few people understand is how when this thing does hit, when this next wave does hit, it's not going to 140, guys. It's going to 250 or 300 or 350. I mean, because there will be so much, there'll be two things happening. There'll be all the shorts who have to cover, or else they're going to get their faces ripped off. And then there'll be a whole new category of long degens who'll come in and who'll lever it and go long it, right? And that's what'll shove it to 400. And then from 400, by the way, it'll correct back to 150. But I mean, it's the nature of a speculative, asset that's being adopted. This is, and if you go look at a very long-term price chart of Amazon, which is a similar network-based business, it had multiple, when it had 190% correction, it had multiple 60, 70, a lot of 40, 50% corrections. I mean, either it's going to take over the world or it's going to die. And right now, Bitcoin's in the, right now we're kind of hearing, it's not, I mean, I just saw a tweet this morning from a gold guy. Well, not really looking like digital gold, is it? And I was just kind of like, you wait, okay, just wait, you just relax. It's not a straight line, but I'll take the other side of that bet, and in 2 years we'll see who looks right. So.
All right, everybody, we got Bram in the house, host of the Bitcoin for Millennials podcast. Bram, welcome to the show. I want to get your thoughts. Is Larry Lepard being overly bullish, overly optimistic? Bram.
I see. Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm happy to be here. I see a comment on the screen saying this is hopium. I think for the people that have been in Bitcoin for a longer time, this ain't nothing new, right? I think the bearish people, the people with all the anti-Bitcoin takes coming out of the woodwork when the price goes down, these are all people that have a high time preference in their life. They think everything goes up in a straight line. They think because they didn't study, but they hear us talk about Bitcoin, that we are moon math boys or whatever. But I think the deeper understanding here, and that is what Larry was also alluding to, right? This is the monetization of a totally new asset, monetary asset, but also an asset of which its characteristics have never existed before. So I've always said, price is a proxy of understanding of a certain amount of people of Bitcoin. And I think that is what we're seeing. I think you guys probably also talk about manipulation and whatnot. I think manipulation is done by people that actually understand it. But in general, all the people that are coming out of the woodwork with all their anti-takes, I think it's a joke by now. It's intellectually lazy to never question what is money, to never dive into Bitcoin, and then the price goes down. You think you are dancing on someone else's grave, basically. But I posted this today. If Bitcoin goes down 30%, all the people that understand it are happy. They're happy. They know that they have the possibility to buy it at lower prices. If the S&P 500 goes down with, I don't know, 7%, TradFi is in meltdown. The mainstream media is in meltdown. Like, oh my God, what is happening, etc. And I think fundamental understanding of Bitcoin is the most important task you have if you are insecure about your future, if you don't want a CBDC, if you don't want other people to control the value of your time and energy. So you need to do the work. Literally, the understanding proof of work takes proof of work. So I don't think Larry's bullish. I just think we are extremely early. We have a lot of foresight. And that sounds like amazing cope, but I still think the world is crazy.
So let's talk about that, right? I guess I keep hearing
Opti like that.
Yeah, that was funny. Hey, I love Amazing Cope.
So we keep hearing that, right? Which is we're extremely early to Bitcoin. Opti, I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think we're still early to Bitcoin?
I honestly do. I know I get yelled at constantly when I say this. Everyone's like, how are we early to Bitcoin? Bitcoin's at 100K. And I just use a simple heuristic. It's like, go talk to average people. They either think you're an idiot still, or they think Bitcoin is a dumb idea. And we've gotten this far to 100K. And like, you talk to normal people, most people don't hold Bitcoin.
But I mean, okay, but hold on. Okay. Yeah, hold on a second. I agree.
Central banks don't even know why they're buying Bitcoin, guys.
Sorry,
but they're buying gold. Why they're buying gold?
I agree in terms of the overall grand scheme of things that we're early to Bitcoin in that regard.
0.02% of world capital is in Bitcoin. You're telling me we're not early?
I don't know, man. It depends on your definition of early.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Depends on your definition of early, I would say. Depends on your definition.
Dude, Nico's such a bear.
I have to level it out here, because if you and Walker had your way, bro, on the October show,
bro, we got to be bull-tarded always. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm gonna be right. You know, I may not be right now, but I am right.
The bottom is marked when Opti starts crying and capitulates.
Not gonna happen. It's optimist for a reason, bro. Even if you tell me it's going to zero, I'm like, nah, there's still a chance.
$5,000 Bitcoin.
Dude, $5,000 Bitcoin. You know how many coins I'll be able to buy? Like,
I'll be on dialysis for life, guys.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. It's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about Bram later on during the culture segment. Also during the news segment, I got an interesting video for you guys. I told you guys the midterms are coming up in November. And what a lot of people forget, this always happens, by the way, in American politics, is people forget that the previous political party that was in power before the Republicans had a complete sweep still has an anti-Bitcoin stance. And one of the most popular YouTube channels that is pro this political party continues to make very high production videos criticizing the Bitcoin and crypto industry as a whole. And again, you have to pay attention to these things, because when the political pendulum inevitably swings back, and it could swing back because a lot of people are not very happy with the Trump administration, don't be surprised if once again you have Elizabeth Warren coming in and you have Operation Choke Point 3.0 begin, and then you get caught by surprise. Don't be surprised if that happens, right? Because fundamentally, the core of this political party has not changed their perspective on Bitcoin. My thesis, my belief is I think they're 100% bought into the ideas of central bank digital currencies, very similar to how the European Union is doing. The European Union is hell-bent on rolling out a central bank digital currency. They call it the digital euro. I don't really think that they give a flying F about, what the masses believe. I think that they're just hell-bent on rolling out the digital euro because it's a continuation of the fiat system, or as Jeff Booth likes to call it, the system of theft, right? I think they're hell-bent on continuing that system, and I think they're doing that via via CBDC, specifically the digital euro in Europe. And you guys have to remember, there's a major political party in the United States that has the same philosophy. And just because Trump won, and just because he signed a couple of executive orders, the only actual pro-crypto piece of legislation, not talking about the Genius Act, which was focused on stablecoins, the only pro-Bitcoin piece of legislation that has a lot of crypto stuff in it as well, the Clarity Act, went down from 80% a couple days ago. Now it's down to 36% that it could pass. I mean, it went up a little bit. Now it's at 52%. And again, there's a March 1st deadline. So if this doesn't get passed by March 1st, the probability that this thing will get passed at all is the probability is going to continue to head down to zero. right? Which is something else that I called last year, by the way. So anyways, we have an update for you guys there. And then we're going to talk to Bram about the Bitcoin for Millennials podcast, what he's working on, what he wants to talk about. So it's going to be an incredible show. You guys are going to want to stay tuned in. We're going to be right back after the commercial break.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Lepard, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY. All right, everybody, we are back. By the way, if you use promo code SIMPLY99, not only are you getting 20% off, you'll get 33% off. So instead of being able to buy this device for $150, you'll be able to buy it for $99. All you have to do is go to bitkey.world, again, bitkey.world today, and use promo code SIMPLY99. You'll get this device for $99. One of the best Bitcoin hardware wallets on the market today. Has multi-sig built in, has 2 of 3 built in, and it has inheritance built in. And of course, it's made by our friends over at Square and Block. And again, these are the people that developed Cash App. So go to bitkey.world today and use promo code SIMPLY99. So you get yourself a BitKey for $99. All right, everybody, let's get into the bulk of today's news story. And I want to take advantage of the fact that we have our friend, our fellow content creator, fellow Bitcoin content creator joining us as a guest today. We got Bram in the house. All right, everybody, let's check out today's news story. So the Clarity Act, this is not good, ladies and gentlemen, but I predicted it. I'm calling it. I'm taking credit for it. I told you guys this was going to happen in September of last year. The moment that I heard that Bo Hines resigned, and he joined Tether, which is great news. Tether's a good company. And then when I heard that Senator Cynthia Lummis was not running for re-election, I told you guys right then and there, I'm like, guys, this Bitcoin legislation or pro-Bitcoin legislation stuff is not looking good at all. And you know, a lot of people gave me a lot of shit for it, but I stuck by my guns, and it looks like it's not playing out so hot. So anyways, this is Matthew Siegel, and he says, Clarity Act odds of passing fall sharply as March 1st deadline approaches with no meaningful movement on a compromise. Coinbase is still moving full steam ahead. They announced a couple days ago. We actually talked about it during the show, and I said, listen, Coinbase is literally going out on Twitter, and they're still announcing their rewards program. And by the way, the main block of the Clarity Act is two reasons. Reason number one, there's a big portion of a certain political party in the United States that is still anti-Bitcoin. It's not monolithic, but there's a big portion of them that don't support Bitcoin, and they want a central bank digital currency. That's thing number one. Thing number two is that the big banks actually don't want Coinbase to be offering rewards on their stablecoin. And the reason for that is because these rewards would function as interest. And the big banks in the United States aren't offering interest at all to any of their depositors. So if you deposit money in a bank, in a big bank in the United States, they do technically offer you interest, but it's comical. It's like 0.38% on top of the maintenance fee that they charge you for holding money in that bank. Simultaneously, while all of this is happening, the bank is making money off of your money because they're going out and they're lending that money. What the stablecoin issuers are realizing, specifically Coinbase with USDC, is that they're saying, hey, listen, we'll offer you rewards. I'm not using the word interest on purpose. We'll offer you rewards if you hold USDC. So if you hold USDC on Coinbase, if you put, let's say $100,000 of USDC and you put it on Coinbase, they're offering you 3.5% in Bitcoin rewards. So they're literally paying you for you holding dollars or the equivalent of dollars in a Coinbase account. They're paying you for that. And if you look at exchanges like, for example, River Financial, I think they're also offering you interest in Bitcoin. So if you hold over a certain a dollar amount or whatever, you hold dollars on the River Financial platform, they're giving you that 3.5%. And this is threatening to banks because there's a whole new generation. I know some of these people that don't even have bank accounts. They use Cash App as their de facto bank account, right? So this is threatening to banks. Banks don't want to compete. So they're trying to use the heavy hand of government to stifle out competition, which again, I think is extremely non-competitive. But this is the reason, this is a primary reason as to why the Clarity Act hasn't been signed. Coinbase is like, listen, the status quo is better than the legislation that you want to pass, because the legislation that you want to pass is actually going to stifle competition. It's actually not going to allow us to do that. And how does that protect the American consumer? I don't know. I think it protects the American banks, that's for sure. So anyways, I want to cover the other side of this, which is, again, you guys have to remember this. And unfortunately, when we started talking about politics initially, you guys didn't react very well to this, but we kind of stuck to our guns. I remember I was one of the first people on Twitter, and I had this tweet saved in my drafts for the longest time. And it basically said something along the lines of, it's probably not a good idea that the Biden administration wins another term for the Bitcoin industry. And the reason I had it saved in drafts for the longest time is because the Overton window didn't shift sufficiently enough for me to send out that tweet. It was only until the Samurai Wallet developers got arrested. It was only until the continuous attacks on Bitcoin self-custody, the continuous attacks on the Bitcoin mining industry, that I felt like it was so incredibly obvious that the Biden administration wouldn't be a positive towards the Bitcoin and crypto industry as a whole, that I felt like I could send out that post. People have forgotten, because it's been 2 years and the repubs essentially control the House, they control the Senate, and they control the executive branch, aka the presidency. So people forgot, like, oh, okay, you know what? We won. We got a Bitcoin president in the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, the midterms are literally in a couple of months, and there's an 80% probability that the Democrats, which again, not the party as a whole, but a big portion of the party that actually has influence and power, still do not like the Bitcoin / crypto industry, because for them, they only want a CBDC. That is their main priority. They want a central bank digital currency. I want to play you guys this clip again of More Perfect Union, which is a very pro Democrat type of channel, to give you guys an idea of what they're telling their audience and what the current narrative is, and then we'll talk about it. Let's check out the clip. Here we go.
You may have noticed that crypto's crashing again, like it did in 2022 and 2018 and 2013. You get the picture. But there's something different about this crash that you need to know about. Crypto has always gone through boom-bust cycles, but now, thanks to loosening regulations, people can buy financial products that give them exposure to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies through the regulated stock markets. They're called ETFs, and over $100 billion worth of crypto was bought by ETFs in the past 2 years, as the size of the market seemed to only go up. But in October of last year, after Bitcoin briefly reached an all-time high price of $125,000, investors began to take some risk off the table and sell their shares of these ETFs. The result? The price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies has nosedived. As of the time of recording this video, Bitcoin is down nearly 50% in just 4 months. So what happens now? Well, we'll see how much actual money is backing these cryptocurrencies. When people sell their shares of the crypto ETFs, the Wall Street firms that issue them, like BlackRock, turn to the crypto exchanges like Coinbase to actually sell the Bitcoin. But if there aren't enough buyers, then the price starts plunging. What's the floor? Well, zero. As I and many economists much fancier than me have argued, Bitcoin is an unusual investment in that there is no product or service behind it, and it produces no revenue stream. Essentially, when you're buying Bitcoin, you're buying bits of computer code, uncorrelated with any real-world asset. This is different from buying a share of a stock in a company like Google or Apple. Whatever you think of them, and trust me, I have thoughts, they are businesses that make products, provide services, and produce profits. And as a shareholder, you benefit from the company's success in the form of an appreciating stock price and/or dividends. Cryptocurrencies have none of that, because crypto doesn't do anything besides offer bros something to gamble on and criminals a way to get paid for their crimes. In December 2022, I testified to the Senate Banking and Finance Committee, saying that the cryptocurrency industry represented the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Why was I testifying? Well, you might know me from TV, but I actually have a degree in economics. Yes, that's right, Ben McKenzie is a secret econ dork. For the past 4 years, I've been investigating and documenting fraud in crypto. It's led to a book on the topic with Jacob Silverman, who's been talking about this stuff with More Perfect Union for years now, and I'll be releasing a movie I directed in theaters this spring. Crypto is a Ponzi scheme. I stand by those words, and we may soon find out the ramifications. The problem with crypto being tied into our regulated financial markets is the contagion effect. If crypto were to continue to crash violently, the selling of these assets would push the prices of crypto companies down, which can lead to the selling of other companies. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Here's hoping that the crypto crash we're currently experiencing doesn't take the rest of the regulated financial markets down with it. Fingers crossed.
So again, that's the general narrative, ladies and gentlemen, right? Which is, this is why Elizabeth Warren fought so hard with Operation Choke Point 2.0 to try to keep traditional finance separate from the Bitcoin industry. The reason that the ETF, the reason that they gave such a hard time in approving the ETF is that they did not want Bitcoin being essentially accepted within the traditional financial system. They didn't want it. He even mentioned it there. He also tried to use a lot of scare tactics, basically saying, look, I have a degree in economics. It's like, bro, F you, dude. Like, what does that even matter? Like, what is it? Like, you have a degree in economics. You testified in 2022. Dude, if you would have bought Bitcoin in 2022, even with the 50% dump that we have now, you'd 3-4x your money, bro. So take that degree in economics and shove it where the sun don't shine, my friend. All right, that's the first thing I got to say. The second thing I got to say is, like, look, they're trying to paint a narrative, and you guys have to understand that the people, that the midterms that are about to happen, this is the mainstream consensus in the political party that is running against the current political party that has power. So you could see another Operation Choke Point 3.0 start once again, once the political pendulum swings back. So it's incredibly important to stay on top of these things, ladies and gentlemen, so you understand the narratives, because at the end of the day, you guys are the frontline soldiers. Because you're going to have family, you're going to have friends. If you have a following like Bram, who has a podcast, you're going to have a lot of people that are listening to you. You're going to have a lot of people that are potentially ran into that video and say, hey, Nico, I saw one of my favorite TV actors. He made a documentary. He has a degree in economics, and he's telling me that crypto's a scam, right? So, and again, he's being a little bit dishonest here because, again, he's once again taking advantage of the fact that people can't differentiate the difference between Bitcoin and crypto, and he's commingling the two. He's putting the two together, and he's basically selling it to you that, hey, listen, all crypto's a scam. I would agree. I'd say, listen, crypto is a scam, but Bitcoin isn't crypto. But he's not being honest. He's not being sincere. He's not telling you there's a difference between Bitcoin and crypto. He's also conveniently leaving out the fact that, hey, when he testified in front of Congress in 2022, the price of Bitcoin was significantly lower than what the price of Bitcoin is right now. So again, it's a political narrative. It has to do with control. It has to do with the fact that these people want a central bank digital currency. And if you have Bitcoin, a non-sovereign alternative that is superior to a central bank digital currency, it impedes their political goals. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to power at the end of the day. Full stop. Bram, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. You're based in Europe. Dude, it is significantly worse, the situation over there, than it is in the States. It's digital euro full steam ahead. Christine Lagarde, Opti's ex-girlfriend, doesn't give a flying F what people actually want, what people actually think. She's shoving down the digital euro down everyone's throats. I want to get your take, man. What does the regulatory environment look like in the EU right now?
Oh man, big question. But yeah, by the way, to go back to Ben McKenzie, I made this meme that says, you know, I don't understand Bitcoin, but it sucks. I have an opinion. It is, to connect back to what I said before, it's also tiring. It's also intellectually lazy. And I agree with you. Eventually, it is about control. It's about keeping people asleep, dormant, not questioning what money is, where it comes from, who controls them, but basically just looking at government and being like, oh yeah, please tell me what to think, please tell me what to do, please tell me which money to use. And I see this comment now, right? Like people find it easy to dunk on Bitcoin when there is this volatility in price, and whether or not you have a degree, like Christine Lagarde also has a degree. She also has a criminal conviction, by the way. I think honestly the digital euro will fail. There is a well, not public debate, but sometimes there's people that work on the digital euro, that are on podcasts or whatever. And when you hear kind of like this, I want to say corporate speak, where they talk about, well, currently it's in a bit of a pause moment, and we need to find clarity and alignment on everyone participating, etc., etc. I honestly think it's going to fail, but you're seeing this push for centralization, like you're seeing everywhere. And in my opinion, it is kind of like the last. They are like the last struggles, the last attempts on this kind of like pendulum swing we've been on towards centralization, where I think there will be a point in the not so distant future where people will realize, well, what are the actual benefits of more centralization? If a government is growing, if my taxes go up, if I cannot afford the same type of living standard anymore, whether it's housing or food or leisure or whatever, what is the benefit to me? And I think eventually there's this point where the obfuscation and the obscurity of everything that they're messing with, and which is not giving us any added benefit or value to our lives, will just be too much for them to keep on covering up. And so I think it's funny your differences in the studio, like should we be bullish or should we be bearish, like we talked about just now. I think we are still extremely early. We have a certain foresight of where the road of fiat money is going and ending, and we're already acting upon it. I mean, I think we are like the preppers in the 90s that you saw on TV, right? Or in the early 2000s, you saw these preppers, and we all thought like, oh, these people are crazy. I think we are basically digital preppers. But as far as Europe goes, you see, we're going towards more and more centralization. Even this whole chat control, digital ID to be on the internet, all these things. I think it's all connected, and they are trying. But like I said, I think people will figure out, and I think on time, that there are no added benefits to more centralization. It's becoming more and more clear that there are no added benefits for more centralization.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I hear you on that, but the political situation is not clear in that regard, in terms of, like, it's like, yes, I agree with you. There are no added benefits to added centralization, but if that were true, that people were realizing it, then at the end of the day, we wouldn't find ourselves in this situation, right? Where major political parties in both continents, in the Americas and in the EU, still think that centralization is a good thing. Those major political parties wouldn't have the influence, they wouldn't have the power that they have today without popular support. So it's like, I agree with you that maybe eventually one day people will realize that more centralization is not a good thing, but the political reality is telling an entirely different story today, on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I also agree with that, right? And this is why you and I are talking about this, and we're, putting our efforts in our own way. So, you're definitely not wrong there. I do think, and by the way, we could obviously also be wrong if 80% of the people are just sleeping NPCs, and they allow themselves to be taken advantage of. People know better than them that want to control them. Then, well, maybe that is our fate, right? Eventually, I don't know. But my kind of conclusion always is, well, what else, right? If we know all of this, right, or I follow what you're saying, well, should I also start voting for these people or following these people? Should I adopt the CBDC? This is not in my individual interest or that of my family. So I am acting based upon the information that I have, the view of the future that I want to have also. And that is what I'm working toward. And is that 100% certain outcome? Definitely not. I think that's also what Larry Lepard, alluded to in the video. And I agree with that. Bitcoin in that sense is also still an experiment. It is either zero or it's the black hole of value, the measurement of all value, or however you want to define that. I personally don't really see that there's like a middle of the road ending for Bitcoin. And again, that's what I'm acting upon. And also, I don't think it's going to be quick. I think this is going to be a very slow, long grind. Maybe we get 5 or 10 years of dystopia with central bank digital currencies in between. I don't know. But my rebuttal to when someone says something like you just said is like, yeah, okay, then what, right? Like what should I do? Should I just lay down, roll over, and be like, okay, please, daddy government, tell me what to do, right? Like what do you expect?
I think we just gotta all move to El Salvador, maybe.
If push comes to shove, maybe we should. No, Opti doesn't want to. What does Opti think?
I'm not leaving America for as long as possible. You guys are tripping. No, look, I actually was gonna troll. I was gonna come on here and troll and be like, you know what? I really do want the Dems in power right now because Bitcoin was pumping when they were in power. We have the Republicans embracing us, and we're down 50%. I was promised 150K quickly. Here we are, and we're getting cooked. But no, I mean, obviously, like, that's just me being cynical and trolling. I totally agree with Bram. It's like, look, it's very easy, like the chat said, it's very easy right now to dunk on Bitcoin. Like, we're down 50%. It's a bear market. Like this happens all the time. But like you said, Bram, it's like, if not Bitcoin, like what else is there? And I'm 100% on board with that. I'm like, look, if Bitcoin fails, like we have literally no options here. So I'd rather try than just basically, bend the knee and just be like, okay, give me whatever you want, big daddy government, because it's just, I think inherently kind of anti-authoritarian in that respect. And you can't tell me anything. So I'd rather fail trying than just accept what the powers that be have for us. But with that said, just like we knew this was going to happen. We knew we were going to have actors and left-leaning media come out and be like, oh, look how bad Bitcoin is, because Trump did embrace Bitcoin so much. I've actually been saying this for over a year, or rather since November of 2024, that I was like, guys, this was going to happen. And now that the midterms are coming up, it is funny to see, or rather maybe not necessarily funny in like an actually funny way. But it's interesting to see that the propaganda machine is coming out and starting to lay the foundation to be like, haha, I told you guys Bitcoin was a bad investment. And then they literally have like an actor, making content and being like, oh, I have a degree in economics. And it's like, cool story, bro. Like you were wrong about Bitcoin, but now you can say, oh, I was right about Bitcoin. Look, it's 50% down. In a year or two, when Bitcoin is ripping, he's not going to be out here saying anything. He'll just continue to be, it's the biggest Ponzi in the world. And you're like, okay, cool, bro. Like, just tell me you missed out on it. I don't really need to listen to your opinions here, because you're just missing the best asset, period. You're missing the best investment. You're missing the best money, and you're too blind to see that because of your priors. So like, I'm okay with, Nico, at this point, I'm okay with people metaphorically shooting themselves in the foot right now. Let's just hope we can protect the people that are listening to them and get them all into Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, guys, it's going to be an incredible show. We're going to talk to Bram about his podcast, what he's
have to look at the comments. The comments are so brutal,
dude. Welcome.
The comments are cooking.
Welcome to Simply Bitcoin, bro. We literally have the most brutal comments ever, man. You should check out the Rumble comments. They're even worse.
No way, dude. Wait, sorry. Do you know what it said? It said, I hope when I watch your show, they said, Bram, I hope when I watch your show and talk about how you were invited to Simply Bitcoin and didn't get to speak a fucking sentence.
Bro, they're brutal. They make fun of me. They make fun of me a little bit more than Opti.
Dude, the chat loves me.
But yeah, the comments are, the comment box is spicy and legendary. But we love all you guys. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. We're gonna talk about all things Bram during the culture segment. We're gonna be right back in just a little bit.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com.
Wait, I have to address this comment. Nico can't even pronounce the word. I'm saying El Salvador so you guys understand it. Do you want me to say it with the Spanish accent every time? El Salvador, like that's
no,
really,
don't do that.
That's really annoying. Like I'm trying to like say it for you guys. So, anyways, Bram, welcome, dude. How you been? How's life?
I'm happy I get to talk now. No, I'm kidding. No, we're
I mean, dude, we could
no, you know I love you.
we could have invited you. We could have invited you at the 2 p.m. mark, which we usually do for some guests, but I thought we would want to have you included in part of the show. So
and then you ranted for 20 minutes.
And then so we did, we invited you a little bit earlier than we normally invite people in, but I don't know. I wanted you part of the show, man. Next time I know, I'll invite you at 2. I'll invite you at 2 next time.
He's spicy, Opti. He's spicy.
Yeah. I've been trolling him a lot, so now he's a little sensitive this morning. Not just because about us trolling him. He's getting a little sensitive this morning. So we'll be okay. I'll make sure he eats good and maybe takes a nap later. He'll be okay.
Yeah. No, man, I have to say I'm good. I think yeah, what I just said. I think it's just so interesting that and I think you guys have a similar Bram speeches from Bears. Yeah. Well, maybe this ties into that. I think you have a similar experience, right? Like I last week I realized that I've experienced 570+% drawdowns. But honestly, this one feels the most random because nothing really happened. There is no reason. There's no FTX. There's no China ban or whatever random thing happened. So yeah, I just I wonder what's going on. I like the takes where it says, like the people that understand this in the financial world, they're trying to, manipulate and flush everyone out and blah blah blah. I think anything that we can say is probably just interpreted as cope. But what I get back to is just a fundamental analysis of what Bitcoin is. And again, we just touched upon it a little bit. Fiat money debasement is mathematically assured. It is a path dependent thing. The end is zero. So if you are a millennial, like you said, my podcast is Bitcoin for Millennials. I focus on educating my generation. I think there is no pension for you. I think there are no social benefits for you. And so you have a problem today, whether you want it or not. And so you have to start looking for something that can keep your purchasing power toward the future. And for me, that eventually has become Bitcoin, right? Like even today, if you say like, oh, well, the price is going down, it's nothing, I'm going to, sell Bitcoin, then, it's sell for what? The money is being debased. Real estate is never yours. Stocks are never yours. Gold, you cannot take anywhere on a plane to another country. You cannot have that in self-custody to a degree. So for me, the most rational conclusion in the digital age is Bitcoin. But I also think we're early, and I think we're also in a stage of let's say the US, world reserve currency, fourth turning, however you want to define it, which is just incredibly chaotic and will become more chaotic. And I also think that the majority of people is returning to what they think has value, right? Like central banks are buying gold. That is usually an argument for some people, like, central banks are buying gold and they aren't buying Bitcoin. But if you objectively look at the characteristics of gold and Bitcoin next to each other, Bitcoin is vastly superior, right? So even this whole notion of calling Bitcoin digital gold, it's so funny when you read like all these bearish comments on X, right? Like it's not digital gold or whatever the fuck their arguments are. No, like digital gold is an illustrative description to give you a certain sense of how you could think about Bitcoin. But when you look at the characteristics of Bitcoin, you will see that it is, like I said, vastly superior. So it is itself, it is just Bitcoin, but just the term digital gold is just to help people to think in a certain direction. As my understanding currently is that Bitcoin is a profound technological discovery that everyone should understand and adopt, but the world still thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah, bro, the world thinks we're all crazy. They think, we're...
I might actually be crazy though.
Opti, you are crazy.
I know. I'm leaning into it.
Then maybe we're all crazy. Maybe
we're friends, so you're definitely crazy.
Yeah.
And Bram likes us, so he's definitely crazy.
Yeah, we're all crazy. We're all crazy. Bram, talk to me about the Bitcoin for Millennials pod. Huge fan of your podcast, man. I think you make incredible content. I love the interviews that you conduct and the conversations you get into. So talk to us a little bit about that. Perhaps our viewers have not seen your work. So Bram is the host of the Bitcoin for Millennials podcast. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. And like I said, I'm really focusing on my generation. I think we are all, you know, millennials are like between late 20s, late 30s, like very early 40s, and we are in a big stage of our lives, right? We have followed a certain path into adulthood, and now have big decisions to make: where to live, who to be with, having children or not, right? Like what is your career, even with, you know, all the AI stuff coming. And so we have followed this path, but I also think that this path eventually led us to something that was different than the thing that we've been told or sold along the way by the generations for us, that actually were able to follow this path and build wealth. And we are living in this age range. You know, we are in this age range, but we are living in a time where we see this accelerated debasement of the money that we're forced to use, this whole push towards centralization, right? Very high tax pressure and whatnot. I mean, in the US, people work, you know, 20% of their taxes go to paying interest on the debt, right? It's not even going to paying off the debt, let alone it goes to investing into society. And so I think when you just look at it in, I want to say, like a primitive way, and you realize that the debt will never be repaid, the push for centralization and control will only be higher because they need more revenue, government revenue, so taxes or just creation of money, which leads to price inflation. And they know that people won't be happy, so they're scrambling towards fabricating some sort of solution or band-aid for what I call a path-dependent development, which is the fiat money eventually going to zero, which will create all the imaginable unrest that comes along with that. So I think the millennials have a problem today that they cannot ignore, and I like to focus on talking about that. Of course, I also talk about Bitcoin. It is called Bitcoin for Millennials. I think Bitcoin is the vehicle to protect yourself toward the future. But I've come to the realization that talking about the problem that basically no one is really aware of, which goes from this monetary debasement to even understanding what fractional reserve banking is, that money in the bank is not yours, right? That you never really own a stock, etc. Is something that I want to focus on, just because I'm seeing no one has a clue and everyone is just, you know, doodling along, and they're just living their life, whatever. And I think there is something coming toward us that is not as positive as people might think. And so that's what I'm trying to help people with, to understand. And it's very fun to do. I still learn a lot after 10 years in Bitcoin. Every week there's new stuff where I'm surprised by what I'm learning, and I'm inspired by what I'm learning. And so it's a very rewarding thing to do.
Fantastic. Well, guys, go check out the Bitcoin for Millennials podcast. Bram, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really, really appreciated it, man. I always love when you come on. And guys, go check out his podcast. I think I was a guest. It was actually, I want to tell the story. The first time Bram invited me on his show, we went back and we literally played tag for like at least 6 months.
6 months.
Because like literally it was like he invited me and then I had to cancel because we were both having like kids at the same time. It's like kind of like it was strange. We were both having kids around the same time. The first time I was like, hey Bram, I'm sorry, I can't. It's just like my wife or whatever. And then he's like, no worries, we'll reschedule. And then the second time he's like, Nico, sorry, you have to cancel like my wife or like this and that. And it was like actually like it took us like 4 times until we were able to actually record the podcast. And we're like 6 months of like back and forth, but I had a really, really good time joining his show, and his questions were excellent, and he just didn't talk the whole time like I did. So it was a great time. So go check it out. Bitcoin for Millennials. Go follow Bram on X. And Bram, thank you so much for joining us on today's show.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for joining. And
stick around backstage for a second. Guys, we're going to close out the show. Like it, smash the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow on the next one. Simply Bitcoin Live. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.